In this video, we will walk through the steps of setting up the email communications module. After you have purchased the module and entered the registration number to activate it, the first step in the setup process is to obtain some critical configuration info regarding your company email account. It may be necessary for you to contact your IT administrator to get these details. You will need to know the user ID and password for the email account that you want to use to send the emails. In most cases, the user ID is the email address for the account you want to use. If you are using a web-based email service, such as Google's Gmail or Yahoo, this would be the information you use to log into their site to access the email. If you are using an email software client to manage your emails, such as Microsoft Outlook or Lotus Notes, you're probably not entering a password each time you check your emails. However, you still have a password for your email account and it was entered during the setup. If necessary, contact your IT administrator to learn this information before continuing. You also need to know your email server and port number. Unless you are the IT administrator for your company, this is likely information that you won't know off the top of your head. Here are some common server and port number details. However, there can be a variety of variables and circumstances that could cause these to be different. Please use this list provided here as a starting point. If you are using an email software client to manage your emails, this information was also entered during the setup. Again, if necessary, contact your IT administrator to learn this information before continuing. Once you have all of the configuration info, you are ready to go into Setup Preferences in the Customize section of the left menu. Then click on Email Communications under the Enhanced Features section. There is a checkbox at the top that allows you to turn on this module when you are ready to use it. This is like the master switch for all users. If this is not selected, email will not be available for any of your users. So let's go ahead and select that. We will come back to these other settings later because we first need to give access to users. We are going to remain within the Setup Preferences menu, but now we need to go into Security Settings and then click on Create Users and Assign Security. Select the user that you want to assign email permissions and select the checkbox indicating they can send email. The information you enter into the fields that display is the critical portion of this setup process. The first field for the outgoing email address is simply the address that you want to display in the From field of the emails that you send from within PropertyBoss. This is strictly for display purposes and does not actually affect the setup or configuration process. However, since your recipients may potentially reply to the emails you send, it should still be a legitimate address. The drop-down list for common providers contains some of the common email service providers, and if you select one, it will pre-populate some of the fields below. However, due to ever-changing technology and security modifications, these settings may need to be adjusted. Let's start by inputting the information you gathered at the beginning of this video. I'm going to select Gmail and leave the settings that pre-populate for me. If I need to troubleshoot later, I would begin by coming back here and trying to adjust the port number, but for now, let's start with this. And finally, enter your email user ID and password. You will need to repeat these steps for any additional users based on the number of licenses you purchased for the email communications module. Once your users have been given access to use email, you can do a simple test to see if you have configured it correctly. Go to the File menu in the top left corner of PropertyBoss and select Send Email. A preview email will open and you can enter some information to send a test email and click OK. If the email is delivered successfully, you know the configuration settings are good. If you receive any errors or unable to send for any reason, you will need to start troubleshooting your settings. Once you are able to send a successful test email, you are ready to continue with the setup process. Let's go back to Setup Preferences and click on Email Communications. On the General Settings tab, click on the Setup Email Defaults button. Here you can enter any default information for the various emails you send. If there are any of these fields that will be consistent whenever you send your email, you can enter the information here and it will always be pre-populated for you when you are ready to send. For example, you may want to standardize the return address for all emails or use the BCC field to always send a copy of the emails to an address. As you move down the list, you will notice the setting names tend to become more specific. Using the owner email defaults as a reference, any information included here will display in all work order emails sent to owners. Any information included here will display in all other emails to owners, but the information you entered in the owner work order defaults will take precedence over these. Any information included here will display in all other emails, but the information that you entered in the owner email defaults will take precedence over these. If you have entered any defaults, click OK to save your changes. In most cases, the settings listed here will not need to be changed. You would typically only make changes here if you are sending more than 100 emails at a time and need to adjust the timing of how they are sent to allow your email server time to process them. This completes the standard setup for the email communications module. Please watch our next video to see a walkthrough of some of the many ways to use email throughout PropertyBoss. If you have any questions or need help with troubleshooting this setup, please contact us and provide the configuration details you used.
Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to visit our YouTube channel for other helpful videos.